Tanya-Bookish friends, welcome to another tag video. This time I'm going to do the reread book tag. I think there was another book tag named the same, so I will call this reread book tag version 2020. This tag was originally created by Scallydandling about the books. I was tagged by my three friends, Nell and Scott, at Gunpowder, Fiction and Plot. Doing this tag will actually be an experience for me because I'm not a frequent rereader, but I will try to answer the questions as best as I can. So question 1. Let's assume you do reread if you're doing this tag. So where do you sit on the rereading scale from almost never to all the time? I'm going to say very infrequently. I only reread 1 or 2 books a year. Question 2. Has that changed over your reading life? Yes. When I was a kid, I used to reread my favorite books over and over because I was a fast reader like I am right now. And books acquired could not be enough for my reading speed. So when I ran out of books to read, I reread my favorite books. For example, I reread Pollyanna by Eleanor H. Porter many times because it was my favorite book of my childhood years. Question 3. When do you reread? Maybe immediately after finishing a book or not till years later or when the mood strikes. Usually I reread when I cannot remember the details of a certain book that I want to remember, and these books are mostly the books that I read many years ago. So I can answer this question by saying I reread most of my books after many years. But there are some exceptions, like maybe only 5 books, such as Persuasion and Then There Were None. I reread those books when I want to feel good. Why do you reread books? I mostly reread books to see how I would feel about it as an adult, because the books that I reread mostly are the books that I read during my teenage years. So that is actually my main motivation, with the exceptions of the books that I mentioned in the previous question. Question 5. How do you reread? Faster, slower, just the best bits? I read, I think, just a little bit faster, but not very fast, because my main aim for rereading is to remember the details, so I cannot go very fast. And there is a book that I only read one section over and over again, and I will talk about it in one of the following questions. Question 6. Who or what do you reread more specifically? Which authors are genres or individual books? I mostly reread classics because they are the ones that I want to remember the details of, and also I read most of the classics when I was a child or teenager. The ones that I read as a child were the graphic novel versions of those classics, and I want to read the whole book as an experience. For example, I read The Count of Monte Cristo as a graphic novel, but I read the whole book last year and I really loved it. But because I had read the graphic novel before, I remembered the plot, general plot details. But it did not diminish my reading experience, of course, because reading the book was something spectacular. An example of a book that I want to remember the details of is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I reread the book about, I think, 10 years ago, and I remember falling in love with the book. It is one of my top 3 favorite books, and I read the book when I was in high school, and I remember enjoying it very much. But as an adult, I recognize the details about social issues, about parenting, about the friendships of the children much better. So it is a book that I would advise you to reread if you have read it in your teenage years like I did, because you will find something much more this time when you reread it. And question 7. Is there a book that you found better when you reread it? I'm going to say another favorite of mine, Jane Eyre. I also read Jane Eyre when I was a teenager for high school, and I remember enjoying it. But because I focused more on the romance in those years, because I was a teenager, I remember feeling the book was a bit overhyped because the romance was, I don't know, mediocre at best. But when I reread it as a 30-year-old woman, I remember falling in love with the character of Jane. I think she's one of the earliest examples of a feminist character. Because although she endures many things, she does not feel like a loser. She tries to survive in any situation and tries to make the best of everything. And even after she falls in love with this guy, she values herself much more than the man she is in love with. And I think that is the core of a strong woman. So I think Jane Eyre is much more than just a romance novel. And as I've said before, it is one of my favorite novels of all times. Question 8, and one that was worse when I reread it. It was unfortunately a book belonging to one of my favorite childhood series, Famous Five series by Enid Blyton. I reread the first book in the series, Five on a Treasure Island, for middle grade March this year. And I found it very outdated, I have to admit. And the tempo was slow for me. And I read much better and much faster modern middle grade books. Although it did not diminish the sentimental value, I can now clearly see the faults in the book when I reread it. And the last question, 9. Which one book have you reread most times? I think I have read a section of Persuasion by Jane Austen. The letter that is written by Captain Wentworth. I think it is one of the best letters that exist in literature. When I need something to renew my faith in love and romantic books, I reread or re-listen to the letter of Captain Wentworth. And I want to thank some of my new friends that I've made through BookTube. First of all, I'm going to thank Reesha for the love of classics. I've talked mostly about classics in this tag. I really wonder how she will do with this tag. Also, I want to thank Chloe from Always Booked, Amy from Zoe Beck, Amanda at Her PNW WA, I think it's Pacific Northwest, Washington Life. I'm not really sure if she does tags, but I want to tag her and so that you can check her wonderful channel anyway. And lastly, I want to tag Tanya at Bookish Topics. So those were my answers for Reread book tag 2020 version. Please comment down below. What is your opinion about rereading? If you're one of the new viewers, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, since one of the books that I reread and loved more when I reread it is To Kill a Mockingbird, I thought mockingbird should be the word of the day. Mockingbird means alaycı kuş in Turkish, and alaycı kuş are our Turkish words of the day. Have a good day.